All right, so we're diving into chapter 29 of the Dao De Jing today.
Oh, this is a good one.
It is, right?
Yeah.
We've got some fascinating sources lined up. We've got, obviously, the original text itself. We've got a few different translations to compare.
Always helpful.
Always helpful to get those nuances right. And then we've got some interpretations from Dao Master Chomeng Fu.
Oh, I like his perspective.
Me too, very insightful. And then I found some interesting connections to Western philosophy, which I'm excited to get into.
Ooh, that'll be interesting to see how those line up.
Yeah, so our mission today is to explore how this ancient wisdom can help us navigate those tricky desires for power and control.
Especially,
when it comes to finding a little more peace and happiness in our lives, right?
Yep.
Because I think that's something we're all striving for.
Absolutely. Who doesn't want a little more peace and happiness?
Exactly. So chapter 29, it really tackles those very universal human urges head on.
It does. Laozi, he doesn't shy away from the tough stuff.
No.
He really challenges, those conventional ideas about power and how to approach it.
Yeah, he definitely makes you think.
Yeah.
So let's get into the core message here. We've got those different translations of the original text, but what really jumps out at you? What's the main takeaway?
Well, there's this one translation that really hit me. It says, "Do you want to improve the world? I don't think it can be done."
It's pretty blunt, right?
Straight to the point.
Straight to the point. And then he uses this really powerful image of the world as like a sacred vessel.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, something delicate that shouldn't be like manhandled.
Right.
So it's like he's saying that trying to force your will on the world, it just backfires.
Okay, so I'm seeing this theme emerging here.
Ah.
This forceful control leading to unintended consequences.
Yep.
But then I'm wondering, wouldn't a leader need some level of control to actually lead effectively? How do we interpret that apparent contradiction?
That's a great question. And it's something that, people have debated for centuries.
Right.
It's not necessarily about being passive.
Right. Or completely hands-off. It's more about, I think, recognizing the limits of control.
Okay.
And understanding that forcing things often creates resistance.
Resistance.
And disharmony, right. Think about trying to control the flow of a river.
Okay.
You can build dams and channels, sure, but the water...
It's going to find its way.
It's going to find its way, exactly.
Interesting analogy.
So it's more about working with the natural flow of things.
Okay.
Rather than trying to dominate or control them completely.
Working with rather than against.
Exactly.
Gotcha. So this is where I think Dao Master Chomeng Fu's interpretation adds a whole other layer to this.
Oh, yeah.
He connects this desire for control to personal desire.
Right.
And its impact on society.
Yeah.
He says that constantly wanting the best of everything can lead to, exploitation and conflict.
Yeah.
It's really making me think about our consumerist culture.
Right. It's like we're constantly bombarded with these messages.
Always wanting more.
Needing the newest, the best, the biggest, the most expensive.
So is he saying that we should just, reject all ambition and desire for progress?
Well, not necessarily. I think it's more about discerning
Okay.
what we truly need versus what we simply want.
Wants versus needs.
Exactly. He's suggesting that embracing simplicity, appreciating what we have, reducing our consumption, finding contentment in the present moment, that could actually lead to a more just and harmonious society.
Okay, so that's pretty different from, a lot of Western philosophical thought, which often celebrates ambition, progress, kind of that striving for more.
Definitely a different perspective.
So how do these Daoist ideas, how do they stack up against, thinkers like Francis Bacon, René Descartes? What would they say about all this?
It's a fascinating comparison. Bacon and Descartes.
Yeah.
They were all about using reason and science to master nature, to control it and bend it to our will.
Very much in control.
Yeah. But Laozi flips that on its head. He says that trying to dominate nature is what actually messes things up.
It's what causes the problem.
Exactly. And I feel like, in a way, he was kind of anticipating the environmental challenges that we're facing today.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So Western thought is often about individual achievement, ambition, right?
Right.
But then Laozi emphasizes humility.
Yes.
And what's often translated as non-action or wu wei.
Right. That's a tricky one to translate.
Good.
But it's essentially about aligning with the natural flow of things rather than resisting it.
Going with the flow.
Exactly.
So I'm starting to see how these ideas, even though they were written thousands of years ago, can be relevant to our lives today.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They're timeless.
But how do we actually apply these principles.
Yeah.
They seem kind of abstract.
Right. They can seem that way.
How do we actually put them into practice in a practical way?
Well, let's take those micromanaging bosses that we all know and maybe love.
Well, we've all had them.
They try to control every detail. Right. But what happens?
Yeah, what does happen?
They often stifle creativity, create tons of stress, and ultimately hinder their team's performance.
Yeah, I've definitely experienced that firsthand.
Right. So from Laozi's perspective, a more effective approach would be to trust their team more, delegate responsibility, allow space for creativity and innovation to flourish.
Okay, so it's about recognizing that sometimes stepping back and letting go of control can actually lead to better results.
It's counterintuitive, right?
It is, but it makes sense when you really think about it.
It does. It's a shift in mindset from force and dominance to collaboration and harmony.
Collaboration and harmony.
Yeah, and this principle applies not just to leadership, but to our personal relationships as well.
I could see that. Let's talk about that.
Okay, yeah. Think about it. Have you ever been in a relationship where you just felt like you were clinging too tightly?
Oh, yeah.
To a certain outcome?
Definitely.
Like trying to make someone change, trying to force things to go a certain way.
Been there.
And it just created so much stress.
Yeah.
Laozi might say.
What would he say?
That loosening your grip, accepting things as they are, that could actually bring you more peace.
More peace.
And happiness.
It's that idea of non-attachment, right?
Yes, exactly.
Not being indifferent.
Right.
But recognizing you can't control everything.
You can't control other people.
Right. And that can be kind of freeing in a way.
It can be very freeing.
Yeah.
And this non-attachment, it's not about passivity.
Right.
It's about aligning your actions with the Dao.
Okay, so how do we find that sweet spot?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah. Life is full of curveballs.
It is.
Right. So how can we act without forcing, especially when it feels like we're constantly reacting to stuff?
That's where cultivating inner peace comes in.
Inner peace.
A sense of balance.
Okay.
We can't control external circumstances. Right?
Can't control everything.
But we can control our responses.
Right.
Our reactions.
That's a good point.
So instead of reacting impulsively,
just
out of fear or anger, we can pause, take a breath. And choose to respond in a way that aligns with our values.
Okay, so it's not about denying our feelings.
Right.
Or pretending that challenges don't exist.
No, they're always going to be there.
Yeah.
It's more about choosing how we respond to them.
Finding that calm amidst the chaos.
Exactly, and there are practices that can help with that.
Oh, like what?
Like meditation or mindfulness.
Okay.
Even just taking a few moments each day to quiet your mind.
Just be present.
Observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment.
Without judgment.
Just being with your breath.
That sounds really helpful.
It can be very grounding.
Yeah.
And then from that place of stillness, you can approach challenges with more clarity.
With more composure.
Right.
But this all sounds very inward focused.
Okay.
What about our outward actions?
Yeah.
How do we make sure those are aligned with the Dao?
Well, think about how Laozi describes the world. This inherent balance of opposites, right?
Yeah.
Strength and weakness,
Yeah.
success and failure, leading and following, all coexisting in harmony.
So he's not saying we should strive for some, utopian ideal.
No.
Where everything is perfectly equal.
It's more about recognizing the interconnectedness of everything.
Interconnectedness.
Yeah, and understanding that diversity, change, those are essential for growth.
So instead of trying to eliminate what we see as negative,
right,
it's more about accepting the natural ebb and flow.
Yeah, the ups and downs.
And that what we perceive as weaknesses can actually be strengths in disguise.
Exactly. And this acceptance of opposites, it applies to everything. Our relationships, our work, even our own personal growth.
So instead of striving for this, impossible perfection,
right,
we can embrace our imperfections and see them as opportunities.
Learning and growth.
Makes me think about social media.
Oh, interesting. How so?
How we present this curated version of ourselves.
Yeah. The highlight reel.
Exactly. Only showing the good stuff.
Hiding the so-called flaws.
Right. And Laozi would probably say...
He might say that true authenticity comes from accepting ourselves.
Accepting ourselves.
Flaws and all.
Bullshit.
Then allowing ourselves to be seen in our wholeness.
So true strength lies in vulnerability.
Yes.
Embracing our imperfections.
Beautifully said.
And recognizing that those so-called weaknesses are what make us unique.
Yes, they make us who we are.
And valuable.
Exactly. And this idea extends beyond just the individual.
Okay.
It's about recognizing the inherent value and dignity of all beings.
All beings.
Regardless of their differences.
This ties back to the sacred vessel idea, right?
It does.
Treating everything with care and respect.
Ourselves, each other, the planet.
Like something precious and irreplaceable.
Yes.
And that brings us back to peace and happiness.
It does.
Right. If we could shift from control and dominance to acceptance, collaboration, and create the conditions for well-being for ourselves and for the world.
Exactly.
So we've uncovered a lot in this chapter. What really stands out to you, like the most relevant takeaway for us today?
It's tough to pick just one, but I keep coming back to that image of the world as a sacred vessel.
That is powerful.
It is. It's like this reminder that we're not separate from nature, but part of this intricate web.
Yeah.
And when we try to force our will on it, exploit resources, impose our ideologies,
kind of backfires, right?
it can have some pretty devastating consequences.
Yeah, that's it.
So it's like a call to step back.
Okay.
Approach the world with more humility.
Humility.
Respect. Responsibility.
Responsibility.
Yeah, for the well-being of all beings, not just ourselves.
That's a big shift in perspective.
It is, and it can feel overwhelming.
Yeah, especially when we're surrounded by
all these messages.
Competition, consumerism.
Always striving for more.
But Laozi offers us a different path.
He does. A path of harmony.
Harmony.
Balance, interconnectedness.
So for those of us who are ready to kind of, step onto that path, even if it's just baby steps.
Yeah.
Where do we even begin?
Well, I think it starts with awareness.
Okay.
Paying attention to where you feel that need to control in your life. Where are you clinging too tightly?
To outcomes.
Yeah, to outcomes.
Yeah.
In relationships, at work, even your own habits and routines.
Okay.
Just notice those thoughts, those feelings that come up.
So becoming more mindful.
Exactly. Mindful of your own patterns and reactions.
Okay, I can do that.
And once you're aware, you can start experimenting with different approaches. Instead of controlling, ask yourself, what if I let go?
Let go. Just a little bit.
Yeah, trust the process. Allow things to unfold more naturally.
It's like that saying, let go and let God.
Yeah, I like that.
It's not giving up.
Right.
It's surrendering to something bigger.
Right.
Yeah, trusting that there's something else at work here.
And that surrender doesn't have to be this big dramatic thing.
Right.
It can be small things, like taking a deep breath when you're stressed.
Okay.
Choosing to listen instead of reacting.
In an argument.
Yeah, allowing yourself to be vulnerable.
Vulnerable.
Ask for help when you need it.
So just making small, conscious choices.
Exactly.
That align with letting go, trusting, embracing the flow.
And remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
A journey, yeah.
You're going to fall back into old patterns sometime.
Right.
That's normal.
It's okay.
Just notice it and gently guide yourself back.
Back to that balance, that harmony.
Exactly.
It's like learning a new dance.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
It is.
It's less about rigid steps, more about feeling the rhythm.
Moving with the music.
And as we practice, we become more graceful.
More fluid, more in tune with the flow of life.
Beautifully said.
That's what Laozi is trying to teach us, I think.
In chapter 29.
It's an invitation to move through life with ease, with grace.
Yeah.
With a deep sense of trust.
Trust in the Tao.
In the wisdom of the Tao.
Well, this has given us a lot to think about.
It is.
And a lot to practice.
I encourage everyone listening.
Yeah.
Revisit chapter 29.
Read it again.
Sit with it, see what comes up for you.
What resonates.
Who knows what you might discover.
So much wisdom there.
Timeless wisdom.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time.